I'm talking about the response of inflammation from white table sugar and from high fructose corn syrup, and why we definitely need to be making some cognizant choices to input different things into our body. First of all, what is inflammation? All right, that's our body's immune response. It is the root of just about every, if not all, diseases in the body. They're all being circled back to inflammation. Well, that's cool, but if you're younger and you're not as worried about the disease side of things, let me throw this at you. Inflammation is going to make you recover slower. It's going to make it so you burn less fat. It's going to make it so you're hungry all the time. It's going to make it so you're not strong. It's going to decrease your sex drive, and it's going to basically make you feel not very good. Okay, but let's talk about how it works in relation to white table sugar. On average, an average American consumes 22 teaspoons of white sugar per day. Most of that coming from the way of high fructose corn syrup. So it's going to be in cereals, it's going to be in sodas, it's going to be in syrups, things like that. Now, the American Heart Association recommends that we end up having anywhere from 6 to 9 teaspoons. Go American Heart Association. Too bad that's way too high still going to trigger a lot of inflammation. Let's talk about how it triggers inflammation so that you can understand why you should be making some changes. What ends up happening when we consume white table sugar or high fructose corn syrup is it increases something called inflammatory cytokines within the body. These are indicated by 3 main things: C-reactive protein, also known as CRP, tumor necrosis factor, also known as TNF if you ever see it, but then something called interleukin 6 and interleukin 8. No matter what they really are, all it means is that they are something that is triggered by white blood cells to actually attack a certain area or protect a certain area. Why is white sugar causing our immune system to elevate? It's so bad, it's causing this crazy wreak of havoc throughout the body, usually through a crazy high spike in our blood sugar levels. Now let's talk about why this happens. When we look at white table sugar or high fructose corn syrup, there is such a level of processing. It removes all of the nutrients and only leaves us with the fructose and a little bit of glucose that allows it to spike our insulin levels. But believe it or not, when you combine white sugar or fructose with other foods, it can slow down the absorption of the good nutrients from those foods. Therefore, you have an even higher spike in blood sugar because there's nothing to slow it down. No phytonutrients, no fiber, nothing good, just the flat out spike in sugar. Now, spiking up our insulin and spiking up our blood glucose can do a number of things. In the short term, it's going to reduce your nitric oxide availability. This helps your heart function, so it's causing that issue. Then also in the short term, it's going to increase your free radicals, which means your liver has to work overtime. That may not sound like much, but when your liver has to work overtime, it means your liver's not able to process fat and help you burn fat. Then, of course, it does what I told you before, increases inflammation, and it ends up causing this immune response that wreaks havoc on your body and makes you fatigued. But there's one other crazy thing you need to know, and that is that high fructose corn syrup and regular old white table sugar have a high amount of fructose in it. Yep, I'm talking about that good old healthy stuff from fruit. Fructose, it can't be that bad, right? Wrong. Fructose responds so different in the body, especially when it's concentrated in that kind of form. There was even a study by 2016 cancer research that found that the cancers that are in breast cancer were exacerbated and had tumor growth directly related to the fructose that was coming from white table sugar and coming from high fructose corn syrup. Also increased lung metastasis, meaning it increased that breast cancer spreading to the lungs simply because of the fructose that was in the white sugar and the high fructose corn syrup. So we know now that fructose isn't exactly good for cancer, but what about when it comes down to our overall fat accumulation? Well, fructose uses something called an active transport system. It has to be used immediately. If it's not used immediately, it's stored as fat. Have you ever heard if you don't use it, you lose it? Well, with fructose, you don't use it, you gain it. And that is what we don't want. We don't want this big shot of fructose. So that's the basis of why you need to be avoiding this stuff like the plague. Forget the 6 teaspoons by the American Heart Association. Go down to 0 if possible. Try subbing out your sugars for agave, dolcetto, maple syrup, and if you're really trying to kick the carbs, go with stevia or monk fruit. One other thing that you can do is make sure that you add some PuraTHRIVE liposomal turmeric into the mix. What that's going to do is it's going to help modulate inflammation in some ways. It doesn't mean that you can go eat a bunch of sugar, but it is going to help make sure that you are at least taking the precautions to monitor your inflammation levels and take back control of your health. Turmeric has been shown across many occasions to be an anti-inflammatory, so it's definitely a contributor to living a healthy lifestyle in conjunction with kicking the white sugar habit. So make sure you click through and check out PuraTHRIVE so that you can actually absorb your turmeric and make an impact if you accidentally have a little bit of sugar. I'll see you soon.